unfiltered,
Yes.
unpracticed, and it curse words aloud. Like I'm like, it has to be all of me because if not, it's gonna be like a lot of work, and I already have
It's
a lot of work.
fake.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
don't.
fake if it's not really you.
Yeah, it feels that way for sure. Okay, let me see. Let Jessica know that we're live, and then she will confirm with us, and we will go from there. But yeah, I love your office. I am in a coffee shop in Alexandria. It's called 4 5, and the coffee
Oh.
is incredible. It's like one of the best coffee. Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker?
I am a coffee drinker, although I do have to admit that I lose my cup about 15 times a day and I'll find it tomorrow in the microwave. So,
Oh, at least not in the freezer. I have, now diagnosed ADHD, so God knows where the heck the cop's gonna show up, and we just pray.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, it's not coffee or tea for me anymore. It's coffee addiction. Like I'm like on cup 3, cup 5. God knows what. Where will
Yeah.
I be today? We'll go with the flow.
I feel like it's just so I can have like something. My husband says I'm a coffee carrier. So I can like carry it around with me all day. He's like, because how do you lose something you're addicted to? And I find it
Yeah.
tomorrow and I'm like, I don't know. It's just part of my personality.
But they don't know how many cups we've been drinking though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have my water cup too. So
Yeah.
like we're multitasking over here with the liquids.
Hey, you're only the business owner of a publisher and a coach and a mother. Like what else? And a
Yeah.
wife. That's another
I
job.
only have the one head for all these hats.
only one head, many hats. I do agree with that.
Yes.
So, well, I know we're live, and Jessica confirmed, and I want to say hi, everyone. And I'm not going to apologize for us talking because I am going to bring up how I met the amazing Courtney Evans. I am going to bring up how life has brought us together and how many things we have in common, which is actually crazy. And every
Mind
time,
blowing.
since the day we met, this is what happens every time we get on the phone together. So I am forever grateful that we met, and we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic that I'm grateful Courtney is an expert on, both through life, as well as I am, and professionally, which I am not professionally expert on this. So that's why I'm glad we have you here. And I'm just excited that we're going to talk about such a heavy topic. We're going to try to bring a little bit of lightness to it because um, when life hits work is the topic of this season. It's like all these things outside of life that continuously hit or work life, and we just pretend that it's not there. Divorce is one of those that I have seen personally through my coaching and through my experience in corporate. Um, make some leaders crumble the fastest of any other event that we're going to cover on this season. We're going to have 12 different events, but I think divorce is a very heavy one. So we're going to try to bring a little bit of lightness into that event. I want you guys to tune in. And before I start, I need to officially present Courtney here today. Dr. Courtney Evans, you earned a degree, so I'm going to say it. She has spent years helping women navigate through chaos, grief, and empowering through a divorce. Her coaching practice, and she has a best-selling book, which I purchased and I absolutely love, Uncaged. And it just talks about her own experience, like rebuilding a life of transition. Corning now is the owner of her own small press, Ever After, which I'm super excited about. And I want you to talk about the transformative work that you're doing through your press. Courtney, it's a pleasure to have you here. Oh, and in addition to that, of course, she has been a divorce coach for a long time before she even opened her publisher. And her book is just lessons that, I can tell you just based on what I've read, lessons that I wish I would have known before getting into a marriage, not before getting into a divorce, because no one ever plans to get divorced. That's not the point of getting married. That's not the point. So Courtney, it's a pleasure to have you coffee and coaching today. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I am incredibly excited to be here. I love these types of conversations and I love the spark that I have with you and I know I'm going to have with your community. So I'm excited.
I know you are. I have absolutely no doubt. So let's dive in. Let's talk about divorce for a little bit. So one of the things that I'm obsessed about is identity and how different things around us shape our identity, whether it's at work, at home, and whatnot. And I think divorce is one of those things that reshapes our identity the most. Can you tell me, based on your personal experience coaching women through divorce, why do you think that is?
Divorce, as we know, is it can be traumatizing and it comes with sadness, it comes with grief, it comes with anger, it comes with everything. But one thing that I think that people don't shine enough of a light on is divorce is actually a death. It is like a death. And when someone you love dies in around you in your world, it forever changes how you present yourself and how you also picture the world, your perspective. It's not any different with divorce. Because at the end of the day, when you divorce, you are not only losing a home, a rhythm, a routine, maybe some, financial piece, but you are losing a version of yourself that you were before you got married, while you were married. You're losing another person who, let's be real, if you married them, you put a lot of love, energy, stock
Hmm.
into them.
Yeah,
So we don't treat it the same, but the grief and the uncertainty that comes along with a divorce is mirrored to a death of a loved one.
yeah.
So it's going to just ripple effect and change and impact every single part of your life as everything that you lost with them unravels around you.
I just love that you said that because, and again, I go back not just to my personal experience, but some of my clients that are going through divorce. And for me, also, as women, at times we are taught to find a husband, be married, have kids, like all of these roles and expectations. Like it's different for men, and things have changed as the Bridgerton times, right? Bridgerton is at a different level, right? But but there's still an expectation. You know, your
Yeah.
parents, at least I'm Latina, so like my parents all the time. I still remember like after I was done with college, she's like, so when are you having kids? When are we getting married? When am I getting grandchildren? I'm like, hold up. I just graduated college, right? But it's
Yeah.
like it's a very unspoken expectation and sometimes very widely spoken of your identity as someone's wife, you know.
Yes.
And I think there's another piece that like comes to mind for me is that no one goes in thinking that they're going to get divorced, but also you're grieving the dream. You're grieving
Wholeheartedly.
like, you know, I had a dream that all these things was going to happen, we're going to accomplish all of these things. And this is something that a lot of people that have gone through it, I always say, like whether you were the one who initiated the divorce and the walking away, or you were
It
the one
doesn't
who stayed
matter.
behind, you're still grieving, you're still
Yes.
feeling the pain, you are still carrying that weight. And what happens is sometimes even the people who initiated tend to have been carrying the weight even longer
Oh, yes.
than
Oh, yes.
one that is like, wait, hold on, where did this happen, you know?
Absolutely. But one thing that I've noticed in my practice is that they don't, I won't say women all the time, but there is times where it is women more so than men that initiate divorce.
Mm.
And what they don't realize themselves is they've carried that grief for so long that once they're divorced and things have settled, that's when they finally feel it. They've
Wow.
carried it for longer than they realize
Yeah.
because they've gone through the emotions of seeing what they've lost, because that's what caused them to initiate it. They lost whatever they found to be the security, the safety, the love, the connection that they had, maybe even sometimes years before
Yeah.
the divorce actually happens. So they're like, well, I initiated it and I already felt all of these things. Why do I feel this way now? And it's because you finally have the space to be able to feel those things, to set everything else down and feel the weight and the grief of the decision. Even if you made the decision, it's still a loss. It
It
doesn't
is.
matter.
It is. I want to go a little bit deeper into this based on your experience with your clients. Like all this identity shifting, how does it show up at the work?
Um, well, I mean, it can show up in multiple different ways. The one that I think I see the most, I can give you kind of the science behind it. What you're going to see is kind of a nervous system overload when you're going through a
Mm.
divorce. Um, it's where you kind of go into an activated fight or flight response. So if you are getting a divorce, there's a reason, there's something that has happened. And it could be that there was, trying times with your spouse. You've lost faith in your spouse. There could be predicating events, adultery, things like that. Whatever it is, it has led to a sense of feeling unsafe. And when you feel unsafe, it's almost as if you've seen a bear or a snake or a spider. Fill that in with whatever your greatest fear is, minus snakes. So your body goes into this overwhelming sense of survival mode. So that means that your concentration is going to suffer. That means your confidence is going to dip. You're going to be less productive, probably more sleepy, maybe unusually reactive rather than responsive,
Yes.
distracted, withdrawn, tearful. You're not going to want to show up to work like you did before. Your resilience is going to be down. You're going to start to kind of lose a sense of yourself. So maybe you're a boss babe CEO who rules the courtroom, and then you walk in there and you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not capable anymore.
Oh yeah.
So it's can show up in a multitude of different ways, but what it really boils down to is that nervous system just doesn't feel safe anymore in your environment with yourself. You've lost a sense of trust in yourself. So that is going to ripple into everything that you do at work, at home too.
Yes. I've seen it again and again and again. And I've also seen people trying to coach to it. Like, yeah, I know, like like my clients come in and say, yeah, my manager told me, yeah, I know that's happening at home, but this is work. You have to leave home at home and come to work. And I'm just like, it took everything in me to be like, do they have FMLA? And like, because I'm like,
Yeah,
for me, this is a
exactly.
crisis. This is a crisis.
Yeah.
Like, if someone would have died in your family, you would have taken FMLA. If
Yes.
you, this is a right people fought to have at work. And what some companies have done is that they put shame into you taking FMLA. Well, she took FMLA for a divorce.
Yeah.
Something
But
as silly as
why?
that.
But why are we doing that?
Thank you.
Because would you ever say that as a boss? And if you're listening to this and you're a CEO, you're a boss, you're a manager, if someone came to you and said, my mom died, would you look at them and say, you need to leave that at home? I
Yeah,
can tell you that they wouldn't. And it's so funny that you bring that up because I work for the same company that I did right after my divorce.
yeah.
And the responses that I got for some of the ways I was showing up was wholeheartedly different than my mom died last October. And I
Wow.
was able to take as much time as I needed. It was very everything's okay, do what you need to do. And it was such a difference. Why are we doing that? Why is it okay to take as much time when you need when you actually physically lose somebody than when you're going through a divorce? You're still losing somebody. You're
I
still
love,
you're losing yourself.
I
You
love that
might
you're
be
saying
losing your
that.
home. There are
Yeah.
so many pieces that are falling apart. Why is it okay to have that narrative?
Why is it like I want to go deeper into this because this is how we can show how companies can show up better for employees going through this. My theory, and I want you to debate me and fight me over this with all your wrath if you think I'm a corporation. My theory is everyone has a mother. And people that, and this is a real one that I'm going to talk about because it includes identity, people that are going through a divorce, a lot of people that are still married or have been married for 30 years or have been married through 15 years or have been married or recently married. Sometimes I feel like when someone around you is getting a divorce, it's almost like someone has a rash.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Someone has a rash, and ooh, and
Ew.
I met your spouse, and now you're not together, and like I don't want it to be contagious. Like
Yes.
is that gonna spread, right? And I think
Yes.
that the empathy is lower because everyone has a mother. So if you are like, I lost my mother, which God forbid, right? And I'm sorry
Yeah.
for your loss because I can
Thank
all
you.
it's terrible. Like everyone has a mother side. Okay, I can relate. I can connect to that because oh my god, if it happened to me, right? Like what I just did, like oh my god, But it's
Yes.
gonna happen. It's inevitable and it's terrible and it's painful. I do believe that some people believe everyone has a choice, and that the divorce was choice pain versus it was a decision that you made that caused you pain versus something inevitable and accidental that caused you pain.
Yes. And I can't bring you any wrath or debate because I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I am going to stand 10 toes down on why I agree with you.
Yes.
The reality of it is a divorce, you are absolutely right. It is like a rash. But when the people who go, ew, you're getting a divorce, you are literally holding up a mirror to every insecurity they have. Because if you look at it, the
Mm.
people around you who are in secure marriages, they feel happy with their spouse, fulfilled with their spouse, they don't really get involved. They say, I'm sorry
So
to hear
true.
that. you know, they're there for you if you need them to be, or they're not if they can't be. But the ones that are ew, a divorce and talking about it, squawking about it, it's because you are unearthing some insecurity of theirs.
Yeah.
They want the same thing, or they see the same thing coming, but they don't know how to make it happen, so they're going to judge you for doing it.
Yes. And divorce is a blessing, but not right away.
No.
It like and the reason I say it's a blessing is because I literally was talking to an employee from my husband who she lives in the Philippines, and we were having a conversation, and she's like, yeah, there's no divorce here. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? She's like, no, it's not legal. Like,
No.
you literally legally divorcing, it's like it's an outlaw situation. So the fact that a woman can walk away, and that's why I believe that like in your case, your comment, mostly women start a process, is because now they have a way to get out. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily being abused, or this is something
Right.
that I actually heard from a client. um, she said to me, I think it would have been actually easier if he hit me.
I've said those words.
Oh my
I've
god.
said those exact words.
But
Because people understand that more. I
yes,
had people who literally said to me, "Well, did he hit you? Did he abuse you?"
like
And I'm
that's
like,
the
"So
line.
that the bar is buried in hell."
It's
Like,
so low,
no, he
so low.
didn't. I mean, why does it have to be this or that? Like, but
Yeah.
things were good. No, it's death by a thousand unseen cuts.
Mm,
So no one doesn't, people don't understand that. They're like, well, there's no visible bruises. It's the same thing if you think about like the chronically ill community. When you think about people who have autoimmune disorders and things like that, we judge some of those people. What do you mean you can't work? You look completely able
oh yeah.
bodied. Why are you parking in a handicap spot? You look completely fine. Why are you driving a sports car with a handicap license plate? Not all illnesses are visible, just like not all abuse is visible.
Yes. Well, and the one that is not visible is the one that stay with you the longest. And it's the
Absolutely.
one that eventually slowly is a slow killer versus a just like a terror, honestly, violence, right? Like it's, and I've seen it so many times, and to your point, I want to go back to that because it's so important. When someone has a healthy love and relationship, and they are fulfilled in their relationship, and they know that someone around them that they love are going through a divorce, they lean in. They
Yes.
don't treat it like a rush and get out. They actually lean in because they know, hey, I know that I am with my partner, loving partner, and every day is work. Every day we're making it work.
Yes.
So I think that that's something very powerful. I do want to bring something up because it came up on the financial, or with our financial coach Jessica on her podcast. She talked about postnup
Yeah.
and prenups, and I don't know about you, but I'm assuming just like me, you married a dream, and I did none of that sort
Nope.
because it's
Nope.
such a taboo. It's such a taboo. And I want to hear your thoughts. And my perspective is the chances of your marriage working out is 50-50. Whether it's hurtful to hear or not, there's a 50-50% chance. And also in any relationship, whether you're going to marry or not, guess what are the chances of it working out? 50-50. It could either work
Yeah.
out or it could not work out. So give me your thoughts on the prenup, postnup situation. Because postnup to me is like a new buzzword, to be honest.
I actually, if I'm going to be honest, don't know much about post nups, but I can talk to you about prenups.
Yes,
I can
let's go there. Let's
definitely
go there. Because
weigh in
we
on
have
that
talked to you guys
one.
about postnups enough.
Oh well, and I'm gonna research that because I want to know
Yeah,
what
I'll
that. I
send you
want
the
to know more.
episode once it comes out. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So, and to be honest, the statistics for second marriages are actually lower than 50-50. So that is,
Oh wow.
with each subsequent marriage, the percentage drops. I think it's like a 70-30 for second marriages, especially with blended family, like stepkids. So it's actually lower.
Let's go back to that because those are amazing data points that I had knew nothing about. So first marriage, what is the likelihood of staying married or getting a divorce?
I don't know the exact number
Yeah.
of with your first marriage. I just know it's a higher probability of divorce. I think it's somewhere between 60 and 70%. I have it in my book and it's the stats, the citations in the book, but it's between 60 and 70% for a second marriage, and it ticks up a little bit if there are children involved in a
Okay.
second marriage.
Is there, so you're saying on the second marriage there's more likelihood of a divorce or less
Yes,
likelihood? Wow,
more.
interesting. That's
More,
interesting to
which
me.
most people think, well, I did it the first time around or the second time around, found out what I didn't like. So obviously the second time's going to be better. Not necessarily. And the reason for that, sometimes my theory, there's not a lot of science behind it. I don't really know exactly how you would test it. You would just have to ask and probably go on the quantitative part where people, or qualitative, where people kind of just said, this is my experience with it. But it's because you're not fully healed before you jump into a second marriage.
Ooh. Mm.
Yep. And it takes an extraordinarily strong foundation and a lot of work that a lot of people are not willing to do if you're not
Yeah.
healed when you jump into a second
Oh
marriage.
my God, this is so real. And like, I'll tell you this, me and my now husband both are divorced and joining this our marriage now. And we did a lot. We always have more work to do, but like
Yes.
especially me because I'm a big fan of therapy, and therapy got me through my divorce. Shayna, my therapist, that got me through 4 years. I couldn't have done it without her. But like, it takes so much work to do the healing that got you there in the first place. I absolutely agree with
Yes.
that.
And I mean, and honestly, if you're looking for healed to be your finish line, you're
It's
never going to
never
reach
gonna
it. You
happen.
should always be healing. It should always be a process. But, and if you want to know more about my backstory, buy my book and read it. But
Yes.
I
Yes,
jumped
you can.
in, forcefully jumped it, was pushed into, honestly. And my now husband knows that. He's not going to be offended that I said that, but
Yes.
I was more so forced into a relationship with him,
Mm.
just because of the circumstances that were going on around both of us at the time. Thankful that the universe saw something I didn't. I couldn't live without this man now. But
Oh.
the amount of work that we have had to do separately
Oh yeah.
and together, because neither one of us were healed from what we went through before we got into what we are now. And we have both had to do some really deep soul searching, really deep healing, some unconventional things that some marriages don't do,
Yeah.
just to be able to keep the build going on the foundation.
Yeah.
So, yes, statistically second marriages are more likely to fail. So, you think you
That,
live the dream, but you got
yeah.
to put in the work to live the dream.
And I guess the reason for me why that was a surprise is because I did think I read some stats, and I'm not a divorce coach. Please, nobody quote me. This is just a conversation. You can Google it, chat GPT it yourself. I think if you are not legally married, if you're just in partnerships, the odds of breaking up are less when you're in partnership. But
I
again,
have read that too.
yeah, but again, there's no data on it because there's like, you don't know when someone starts in partnership or leaves in
Yeah.
partnership, or what does that look like.
I have heard that though. And but like you said, you don't have in that sense, you don't have a divorce statistic to look at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you don't
I
really
don't
know.
know.
Either way, the lesson here is there's work, whether you're divorced, married, together, in love. And someone, I had a client yesterday, and she said to me, um, she said, when you love them, the work is harder.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that one staying to me. I'm like, ooh, and I'm like, I'm gonna quote that tomorrow at the podcast I'm gonna have with Courtney. That's what I said to her.
It's so good and it's
Like,
so very true
yeah,
because if you don't truly embody them, love them, or if you've maybe even fallen out of love, maybe at one point you did, but
yeah.
now you no longer do, you're not putting in the work. So it doesn't seem like effort because you're not
Yeah.
putting any in.
I do have a question in terms of like continuing this back to work, because I think there's so much stigma with divorce. Um, what is some of the things that you feel someone can do to show up at work given what they're going through? Should they be vulnerable and share with their manager what's happening? Um, is that something that they should keep to themselves? I have my honest take on it, but I want to hear yours.
So I don't feel like that's a black or white answer, to be
Yeah.
honest. I feel like you need to read the room, read the situation that you have. What is the culture at your, your company? Because in some situations that can actually be bad to share with your
Mhm.
manager, because then they're going to look at it like you're distracted, you're not doing what you need to do. Maybe this is time for you to find something that fits differently,
Mhm.
especially just because we all know, and I'm sorry if anybody is listening is offended by this, but corporate America is about corporate America first. They're
Yep.
not about you. They're not about family.
Mhm.
What is that saying? They're going to have you replaced before your obituary even hits the newspaper. So you kind of have to look at what your culture is. If your culture is not one like that, where they do, really tout work life balance and they're very, very supportive and your manager is very supportive, it is something that you should probably share. So then it's not, you don't care about your job, you're just
Mhm.
drowning in something else, so that they know then how to help you. If your corporation has EAP, employee assistance,
Yes.
they may, could drive you that way, especially with divorce. If you're looking at, financial issues now, loss of an income, something like that, a lot of times corporations have free services that you can tap into. So that may be something that you can ask about as well. Even if it is a culture that they don't support you, if they still have employee assistance, those things are traditionally supposed to be confidential. So you can
Absolutely.
still look into those to try to get yourself some free help, just in the interim.
Yes, I think this is a very interesting topic, and I think it just moves so differently for both men and women. But I do believe both struggle with the same thing. Um, my coach hat, we'll say, one of the many hats we wear, it's you should be at a place where you feel psychologically safe to be able to say that. I will
Yes.
also say in the same hat, um, I have decided to be vulnerable with two leaders, right? So, one, the leader when I was going through my divorce, I was vulnerable with her, told her what was happening. She's one of my clients now at HK Trainings. Love her. Um, she she held it down for me. She understood,
Yes.
and I didn't know at the moment because she was so this like guarded and with closure that she had gone through it herself, but she never showed it, never told me about it. That was years ago because she's on her second marriage and thriving, and they've been together for many, many, many years. You will never know.
Yeah.
And she did. And then when I was going through the custody, which we're going to talk about divorce with children, that's a different freaking animal.
Whole different beast. Yeah.
Different animal. Um, During that, I was being honest with a different manager, and it went completely the other way.
Same.
It was very much like, yeah, I don't care. This deal needs to happen. I don't care that this is, and for me, what I was grateful for is that it opened my eyes to that company, which allowed me to leave and then, join the beautiful tech world, which I absolutely love. But just two different leaders, both female, completely different reactions. Difference, one of them had gone through it, the other one didn't.
Yeah. And I had something similar when I was in the separation phase of my divorce. The company that I was at was the same thing. They knew, it was a company in a small town and everybody knows everybody and they knew about it and it was used against me, in
Mm,
multiple ways. I have a few stories about that in my book and on Substack. Because it is something that I had to heal from, because
yeah.
it was used against me in this job that I had been at for 8 years. I, was what I thought was well respected in my position, and it was used against me. And then when I transitioned right after the divorce into a new company, it was much different, much different. They were supportive, let us know what you need. And then going through some of the custody battles and court hearings and things like that, that my now husband and I have been through, same thing.
Yeah.
Supportive, let us know what you need. So different companies are going to show different cultures, but sometimes that I had a friend in the past who told me at one point that I was like a weeble wobble. And I was like, I don't know
Mm.
what that is. She's like one of those dolls that you can like knock down and it's going to come right back up in the exact same spot.
Oh.
and I like she kind of laughed about it and she said it's really your stubbornness, your tenacity. And it was like, I'm not really taking that as a compliment. I don't love that.
Like that was
Um
terrible. Just the visualization of it.
yeah, like I don't love that. But it
Wow.
really honestly, I realized how true it was that I would get just so deeply rooted in something based on principle that you
Yeah.
couldn't move me off a dead center
You're
until that
resilient.
happened at that job. And it was like, and that supervisor literally like picked me up and like chucked me off of the table, and it caused me to move. And
Mm,
sometimes even though the move is uncomfortable and you're getting chalked off the table,
yeah.
it's the best thing for you, so you're not constantly being knocked down and brought right back to the same spot.
Yes.
Because if you're doing that, you're not growing.
I I can talk to you for 3 hours, and I know this is supposed to be like a 40-minute thing, but because it's so true. And like what I do want to say to everyone listening to this episode today, if you forget everything we say, these are the conversations that I wish I would have listened to before I started a divorce process. The other thing I wish I would have known before starting a divorce process is that there's divorce coaches and
Yes.
there's lawyers, and we talked about this, Courtney, because, like the professional woman that we are, we have to get educated as to what are our rights. Just like
Yes.
men, if you're a man or a woman, please go investigate your rights. And it's a very different thing to go to a divorce coach versus a lawyer. And that I wish I had gone to a divorce coach. Can you help the listeners today know the difference between one and the other, what one can do and cannot do?
Yeah, absolutely. So a divorce coach cannot represent you in court. So they're not going to go to court. They're not going to be a subpoenaed witness. They can't give you the legal jargon for any of your filings or anything like that if you're choosing to go with a lawyer. Some divorce coaches are well versed in pro se, which means that you're representing yourself. Situation dependent. If it's a high conflict, I don't suggest going pro se, but if it's a little more amicable, then you can. But a divorce coach is going to be someone who is going to deal with the emotions. So I used to have this diagram that was a triangle, and you had your lawyer, and you had your divorce coach, and you have your therapist. So your therapist is going to work with the past. What from the past are you bringing forward with you?
Mm,
Your attorney is going to go to court with you, and they know the legal proceedings and things like that, how to talk to judges, how to file things. And then you have your divorce coach, which is going to work on the present and the future with you. So,
yeah.
what does it look like right now, and how do we get our emotions? Because your attorney is charging you by the hour. They don't care
Mhm.
about your emotions, and they don't want to hear about your
Yeah.
emotions.
They
So,
do
I
it
use
for a
this
living too.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have time. Number one, most of them don't have time.
Yes.
Number two, the rest of them just don't care. So we have multiple binders that we have collected over the years for all of the different custody and court things we've been through. And the first one that I ever had, I took to the attorney's office, and I had sticky notes. Now I'm type A personality. It was alphabetized, whole nine yards,
Yeah.
but I had sticky notes in there. And he said, "Take the sticky notes out. They're your opinion, and I don't care about your opinion." And I was like appalled. I'm like, but my opinion, my relevance to this is important. Like what I'm adding to that. He goes, like, no, that's emotions. I don't need to hear about any of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, but you need to care about this as much as we do. They don't. They do not.
Wow.
So, and another thing that if you're an attorney and you're listening to this, God love you. I'm not talking about all of them. I don't talk in absolutes.
Yeah.
But there are attorneys out there, billable hours, high conflict drives up billable hours.
And
So
intense.
the more conflict, the more money they're going to make. They're going to play on your emotions. They want you to be reactive and not responsive, because the more reactive you are, the less you agree to, the more you're going back to court, the more money they make.
Yes.
So you need to get your emotions in check, in control, figuring out what you want, having clarity over the decisions that you're making sure you're putting yourself or your children first.
Yeah.
And that is really where a divorce coach comes in. They help
Love
you
that.
kind of with the path forward that is the least traumatizing as it can be, and help you work through those emotions.
I just love this so much, and I wish I had that. I'm grateful for
Me
my
too.
therapist. Like she held me down as much as she could, but the anxiety of the future was too grand. And my I have a new lawyer now, and she's amazing, a badass. Gratefully, I don't need it because we are co-parenting as best as anyone could after a divorce. But like but during the moments it was really hard. And like for me, even though people don't think I am, because I play a really cool in this podcast, but I am highly emotional. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. I am a wearing emotions on the sleeves person. And if I had anything to share about that experience, it's like the person that carries their emotions on the sleeves the most, the person that is the most honest about their feelings to the world, to the public, will never be able to not show up or present themselves as a logical person to a court, to a lawyer, to
No.
anything. So if you are with a much more calculated partner, whether it's a man or a woman, believe me, they will show up all like $1 million. So it's something
Yes.
that I always see like with a lot of my clients that are highly emotional about the situation. I'm like, thanks to you and many others, like I'm like, you need a divorce coach. I know that we probably could talk forever, and I do want to bring something up because it's very important. How I met Courtney. I met Courtney at a writers' conference. So many of you know I'm a writer, but my hobby is also fiction writing. And I am just wandering around the fiction writing area, and then I see this beautifully decorated publisher, and Courtney is right there. And I just go in and talk to her. She tells me about her book, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to read this book. And sparks flew through the air. We talk about our lives, how much we have in common. I have to say this: our her son's name and my daughter's name is the same, Blake, which is like when she told me, I'm like, what is happening right now? And my daughter's stepmom now, her name is Courtney too. So I'm like, and she's a very sweet, gentle human. So I'm very grateful for her. And like, so I like it's just we have so much in common. Plus, we're both writers, which I think it's like incredible that we have that in common. And I want you to talk about your new venture. I want you to talk about your publishing business because above all, people that are listening to this that have gone through a divorce, have gone through a custody battle with children, and we will have a co-parenting coach that we would talk with in this season. I want you to get from this that it will pass. If you just get the help that you need, go through this. And the hardest part is like there's no other way out but through. That's the only
Bingo.
way out of this. And there, Corny's an example of how you can make it through and look as gallantly as you do and graceful. And on top of that, have an amazing publishing business. So talk to me about Ever After Publishing because I think it's remarkable.
So, my company was actually born from divorce coaching, honestly.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, Ever After, the name, it is indicative of happily ever after, but it's not a fairy tale. It is your ever after is waiting for you, whatever that looks like. Security, safety, a house, a new marriage, a divorce, whatever it looks like, your ever after is waiting for you, but you have to own it. And through my process of my own divorce, my husband's custody battle, his court battle, everything else, I nearly lost myself. I nearly did not
Um,
survive any of it. And in that, I said the same thing as you, as many other people do. I wish I would have had a divorce coach because what I got out of my attorney was just a lot of debt. That was it. So I started researching it. I didn't want to become an attorney. I already have a doctorate degree to pay for it and want to pay to become an attorney. And I stumbled into divorce coaching. I loved it. I still do. I'm the unofficial, official divorce coach for life, probably just because I love it.
yes.
But being a divorce coach for a few years, I really started to see that my passion is the ever after. It's
Mhm.
not the paperwork, what goes on through it, the emotions through it, because a lot of times you don't have a lot of control in
Yeah.
those moments if you are in family court.
Yeah.
I wanted to do more with the rebuild, what happens after the divorce. And I started noticing through my own writing journey. I've written since I was little, I've journaled, I've written letters, I love it. My writing my book is the only thing that saved me. I had been through therapy, Reiki therapy, medications, shaman. I was diagnosed with 3 autoimmune disorders. I barely survived.
Mm,
My book is what brought me back to life.
mm,
And that's when I started realizing that if you put pen to paper in the right way, you can really untangle those knots and you can really start to find your way towards your ever after through the writing process. You can start your healing journey. So that's where I said, you know what? I want to write more. I want to publish more. I want to help people do that. But there's a huge disconnect in the publishing world. There
mm.
is no trauma informed nervous system approach publishing. It's just write, publish your book, edit it 1,000 times, lose your rights and royalties. And I was like, that is not how you write stories like ours. You
Yeah.
have to write these with your nervous system because you don't have writer's block. Your nervous system is stopping you from writing because it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to go through a series of things to make yourself feel safe. And then you can get that book out into the world and you can heal and you can be a lighthouse for other people.
Yeah.
And so I decided to create a nervous system first publishing approach. So it's coaching, whether it's divorce coaching, co parenting coaching. I'm also trauma informed certified. And then, of course, with my nursing background with mental health, I have some certifications there to go through the nervous system, deactivating that fight or flight, making the safe space so you can put your story out there and you can heal through the process. So
I
that's where my press came from.
I love it. I am so excited. I cannot wait to hear more about it. And we will put all of the links and information to everyone and anything that you might need from Courtney. She's incredible, an incredible speaker, incredible writer, and an amazing friend that I'm so lucky we met during this writers conference.
You made
Oh,
me cry.
yes, it's true. And like how the universe works is like me and Jessica were looking for a divorce coach. We could not find someone that we felt that connection with. I'm in this writers conference and I walk into Courtney's booth. Like if the universe,
Boom.
it's like not, I don't know. It was an incredible experience and I'm just so grateful for it. We are going to wrap up. I want you to tell the audience if they're going through a divorce, what will be one of the biggest advice you will give them so they can keep it together as much as they can.
Yes. Create safety within yourself first. Start there. And I had a nursing instructor one time who used to use the saying one bite at a time about an elephant. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not eating an elephant. So I changed it to one wave at a time so you
Yeah.
don't drown. So start with small, meaningful routines, going to bed at a certain time, writing, because we all know I'm going to give you that as advice,
Yes.
journaling, meditation, whatever works for you, and set a routine so you can start to build safety.
Love it.
That's going to be the first.
Love it. For me, my fiction writing is like my safe place mentally. So that's
Yes.
why where I go. I do writing, but it's fiction because I'm like, I want to escape this world. Take me somewhere else,
Yes.
brain,
Yes.
and especially during those moments. And then I also learn a lot about learning about the nervous system. Going through Gallup coaching was the thing that saved me because I
Yeah.
started understanding that my emotions come from my brain and
Yes.
I can't control them. And since then, I can tell you there is pretty much very few things that can get me out of my shell. When they do, it has to be like a lot of taking because like very few things don't get me out of my shell thanks to that research. So find your thing. There is help. And I do want to leave with you should feel psychologically safe to tell your employer or your manager what you're going through. But more
Yes.
times out of that we like to count, sometimes there's a lot of stigma that comes to it, and a lot of people are not as ready and as prepared to do it. I will say if you're not in that position, especially because you're going through a divorce, where you can just pick up and leave and find a new job, because stability is the name of the game, and the more stable you are in your job, in the household that you're in, and in the house that you're in, because that was huge for me. Don't leave the house where your kids are being raised. That it's important for you to you know stay the course, but also you can still be vulnerable and protect what you share, protect what's yours,
Absolutely.
especially something as sensitive as that. And be careful who your work friends are and how much you share with them about what's going on, because a lot of it might end up backfiring on you. It's
Be
the
careful who any of your friends are through this process.
yeah.
You will get flooded with other people's opinions and all the things
Oh
they want to
yeah.
share and tell you. Be careful who everybody is around you. That's going to be part of that building that safety within yourself first. Don't look for it at work, with your coworkers, with your friends. Look for it here first.
Yes, I will say I have regretted sometimes some of the things that happened because of the divorce. I have not regret the ever after. So it's
Not
not a
one bit.
fairy tale, but probably you are today and who I am today is greatly because of that hardship. And the things we can take on now with the world is probably even greater because of it.
This Courtney wouldn't have existed without that story.
Yeah. And I know both of our kids see us as badasses because of it. Like I know my daughter is like, my mom is strong. My mom, like she's strong. Like that perspective came because she knows there's a shell that was grew through it that also shines through vulnerability. So I know your story. I really encourage people to read your story because it's incredible, and it's an amazing book. So thank you, Courtney, for
Thank
putting
you.
it out there. Okay,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you all for listening in to Coffee and Coaching today. This is such an incredible topic, and I'm so grateful that we cover it. Courtney, I know you'll be back. Hopefully, the next one will be in person.
Yay!
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay.